Today we have a subscriber donation. Sometimes it works out that way where people that watch the channel have some trash that they want to give me for free. It kind of really sounds not so glamorous that way. But in reality, a lot of the engines I've torn on in the past have come from viewers of the channel. And this is out of a viewer of the channel, a subscriber, that did not leave his name. How am I supposed to say thank you when I don't even know who dropped this off? I have an email address I suppose I could ask. This is the 3.7 liter V6 out of a Dodge Ram. And this was dropped off at my buddy Pete's place. I did tell him it was coming, although Pete doesn't really remember that. It just showed up one day and he says, Eric, what is this? I said, just bring it to me on the next trip. So here it is today on the stand, all the way now in Hazelwood, Missouri. And we're going to find out what went wrong with this 146,000 mile 3.7 liter Powertech V6. The 3.7 liter Powertech is essentially the V6 version of the 4.7 liter Powertech V8 that came out a few years prior. These engines make 215 horsepower, whereas the early 4.7s produced 235 horsepower. So you can kind of deduce from that that the rear cylinders that are missing on this engine are worth about 10 horsepower apiece. It's probably not the way they want you to look at it. Now these engines actually replaced the 3.9 liter V6, which in every right was a very durable and good engine. Those engines make 40 less horsepower, but they will do it for 3 times as long as this one will run. This has 146,000 miles on it, which is, I wouldn't call it low or high. It's actually low for as old as it is, but I've seen these engines bad at 70,000, 60,000 miles, and I've also seen them go 250,000 miles. I think a lot of it comes down to maintenance and what day of the week it was built on. You could get a 3.7 in a host of different Dodge and Jeep products. The Dodge Ram, Dodge Dakota, the Dodge Durango, I think, was an option. I don't know that I've ever seen one. The Jeep Grand Cherokee, the Jeep Commander, the Nitro, the Liberty Bibberty, all of those things had a 3.7.
Don't forget the Mitsubishi Raider!
Now, one thing I noticed when looking at this engine is that it looks like the oil pan is mostly unbolted. And I suspect that's because the engine was locked up in some fashion and there was no torque converter on this engine. That means it was unbolted from the flex plate. So I think we're going to find some stuff that's partially taken apart, maybe. I hope there's still some junk in the sump. Clearly, the first thing you want to do when you get an engine that the pan's hanging off of and you know has blown up is to see how bad it is. Just turn it over. It's fine. That was a close one. I guess Pete left this outside. It seems to sound okay. I don't hear Uncle Rodney banging around in there. All right, now that we know it turns over, it should be able to come apart just fine. Before I try to get the plugs out, we're going to blow the junk out of the spark plug tubes. There, I cleaned it up, or made a worse mess on the floor. Now we can pull the spark plugs. I am surprised because all of these plugs look pretty good. I don't see anything bent or broken. It doesn't look like any of them were regapped by a piston. I mean, aside from being auto lights, there's nothing really alarming here. Oftentimes, engines don't feel the same with plugs in them or plugs not in them. So we're going to turn the engine over again and see if it changes the way it feels. Nope, it feels okay. It's making some noises though. No difference. Let's take a look down the intake ports. This is the left-hand bank. Just some dirt and debris from sitting with no intake. Some leaves. I don't see any chunks of metal. And this is the right-hand bank. Valve is open, but I don't really see anything terribly alarming. I'm sure once it's on my computer screen when I edit it, I'll see something. Next, we're going to remove the left-hand valve cover. Ooh, that one's bent.
Ugh.
What's behind door number 1? Nope, I need blue for this. Oh. Well, I quickly understand why the engine is bad. Now, we don't know to what extent. This head is aluminum, although it appears it is made out of iron, because that's a lot of varnish. The volume of sludge in this thing. Yikes. And there's some silvery stuff, which tells me this engine's got some forbidden glitter in here. We're going to find some wreckage for sure. All the valve train seems to be okay. Obviously, we'll know more once we get the camshaft out. Timing components appear to be in place, but man, look at that stuff around the head bolt. Is this mud? Now, before I pull this valve cover off, I need to remove the dipstick tube. We're going to get this. It's not going to be a problem. It's going to come right out. We just got to think happy thoughts. Come on. No! It's going to come right out. Just got it. Oh, no. Oh, no, it broke. I think it broke. See? It's fine. How do I get down? Before I can get access to all of the head bolts, I need to remove this oil filler neck. Oh man, that's just full of sludge. Now we can pull the passenger valve cover. Didn't need blue for that one. Chain is still present. Sludge is very present. Yikes. Is that lava? I'm amazed at the amount of junk in here. Smells not good. But the timing system appears to be intact. I don't see any issues there. Valve train looks in place. I can't believe the water pump's missing. Of all of the parts, and I don't really want to deprive you guys of a water pump situation. So this is the water pump. It's as close as I could get off of a 3.6 liter Pentastar, the same Pentastar that I put back together for the Toasty family and sent it down to Rain Man Ray. And well, I guess it's time to finally do something with this. The next thing I'd like to do is tickle the timing cover, but to do that we need to remove the crank pulley. Save that for later. All right, now we're going to unbolt the timing cover. I think I'm going to lose my air hose here shortly. I think there's just one more right there. See what's behind the timing cover. Oh, it's really loose. More super smelly, grody junk. Ugh, it smells terrible. The cover looks like it's in pretty good shape. Not sure if these have any value. I think there's a little bit of value here. Might be the only valuable part in this engine. Looks great. I'm just kidding. It looks terrible. The coloration indicates a slightly unhappy scenario. And then I don't know what all this junk is up here, tucked in next to the timing chain tensioner. But miraculously, it looks like all the timing components are together. Nothing's broken. I mean, I'm sure it's super brittle, but they all look pretty good. Let's start unzipping some parts. Unzipping parts. That sounds awful. Let's just take some bolts out till parts fall off. Let's unbolt some of the guides / tensioner for this primary chain. Did that help me at all? Oh, I see. This is all one gear and I got to take the tension off the chains. I've done this before. I'm just going to start zipping bolts out. Is this how you do it? Ooh, that was under some tension. That one came out nice and easy. Okay, did that help us at all? See, is there enough slack in here to pull the chains off the cam gears? Almost on that side. Let's go to the other side. I bet they want you to take off some more parts. We'll take this bolt out here and so we can slide that rail out. I can't really tell what this is. There's so much goo in here. It is larger than a T30. Looks like a T40. We're going to go with that. T40, what do we say?
Good for it.
And there's one rail. We'll look at that a little bit later. Did that help us? Oh yeah, maybe. Ooh, it's doing stuff. There we go. Chains off. And now we can leave the cam gear on the camshaft and we can just kind of throw that thing back in here. Although I do need to get this cover out, which looks kind of melted, doesn't it? Maybe this thing was overheated. Maybe it just has all the problems. There's one more rail. I think we can do the same on this side. There's one super sludgy rail. And this one, we got to get it out of there so it can be safe. Oh, you know what? Maybe it's the chain. That's what it was. I'm sure it's really safe to be putting your hands in the timing system when everything's under tension. Don't do what I do. You can say what I say, just don't do what I do. Come here, come back here, guide. Hey, come back here. Hey, come here.
I want to talk to you about your car's extended warranty.
Oh, it goes out this way. All right, now I think we should be able to do some more removal, maybe. I think this comes off, right? Yeah, that comes off. Once I get past this little ledge, yeah, we're moving. There we go. And there's the oil pump behind it. There's the whole timing system. The timing components, oh, looks pretty decent. So the bearing in there, it shows a little bit of wear. Primary chain, the secondary chains, they don't look terrible. They really, not a ton of wear. So these have some clear wear from where the chain was riding. It's not terrible. They certainly aren't destroyed, but there's some flecks of engine material that's not supposed to be there. I am really surprised they are as nice as they are. And I wouldn't call them nice, but usually these things are really brittle and they come apart as soon as you touch them. Sometimes they just come apart when you talk about them or think about them or your neighbor thinks about them. In this case, these are in excellent condition. It did not go the way I intended. Now I could remove the head with the cam and the cam caps, but that's not, we don't do that here. We're going to take this all the way apart so we can check the condition of the journals so I know whether the heads are going to be good or how bad they actually are. And next I'm going to find the right size socket. It's time to remove the cams, so I have to cram the cam caps off. Well, the journals have a bunch of junk in them. There's some wear. Oh, the rockers seem to roll pretty well. And I don't know, there's not really a ton of damage to the journals in the head. There's some. I'm not going to pretend it's perfect. Caps, however, see a lot more force from the spring tension, so that's where most of your wear is going to be. The camshaft looks like that's got some bearing matter. Doesn't go there. Not terrible. Kind of surprised. Before we go cracking the main head bolts loose, there's a few at the perimeter. Where did my... Oh, it would help if I had a socket. Now it's time to crack the head bolts loose so we can pull the head off. Oh, I gotta chisel my way to that bolt. Hold, please. You know, I thought the hammer was kind of excessive, but now it's barely getting the job done. All right, hopefully that's the only one we got to do that with. I think that should do it. I mean, it should always do it. Oh, the smell. Oh, I could go without this. It's a good thing you guys don't have smell-o-vision. Imagine like a really damp, really oily basement with a pile of wet, old diapers in the corner on fire. Ugh, the smell is atrocious. Let's pull this off. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, I forgot a ground. Why is there a ground connecting both cylinder heads?
Who did this?
Oh, well, the problem should be very, very apparent. Well, that one looks okay, and no, that one's got some damage too. That one looks okay. That one, I wish I could see it. Let's do our scientific test. That one's broken. Cooling system is kind of plugged in places. It's not as bad as I've seen. Head gasket. I don't really see any places where it's breached. This area doesn't look very good, but I don't know that that's actually a problem. So the front cylinder doesn't look too terrible. That one is gone. You can see the crankshaft journal in there. There's definitely some witness marks at the bottom of the bore from a wrist pin just going haywire. And then the rear cylinder looks okay. I wonder what the other side's going to look at. Let's go look at the head first. So starting at the front, I mean, it's dirty. And then clearly this one has been resculpted by the piston. It's not really terrible damage. I wouldn't say this head is junk. I mean, it's not perfect. I don't know what the value of 3.7 heads are. I know they like to have some issues with their seats falling out. This doesn't seem to be the problem with this head. Now on to the right bank. The journals on this head a little worse. That's bearing material or metal from another part of the engine that's not supposed to be there. These all seem to be okay. A little bit of damage to that journal. That one looks okay. And the rear one, a little bit of debris in the hole. And the cam, again, there's some debris on there. You can see some of it there. It's scored pretty well. It's definitely not the worst we've seen. We've seen much, much worse. And the cam caps, pretty worn. I don't know if they're useless. I don't know if that totally ruins the value of the head. But they're certainly not ready to go back on an engine. Just like the other head, we've got a few bolts to remove. Oh, that's pretty grody in there. I literally need my hammer and screwdriver again. Like, this is just ridiculous. Now to crack these head bolts loose, and I'm sorry guys, these are just really quiet head bolts that I can't get the socket on because of junk. Any others? Oh, there's one here. Too much goo. Wow, I still can't get my socket on this thing. Oh, that was good. Let me hammer the socket on there and fix it with force. I guess we just don't need the rockers. I think crud is keeping that one in there. Yeah, that's whatever that is. It's bad. Now we can remove the cylinder head. Well, this one is 50% better than the other side. Head gasket. Really don't see any issues there. There is some water in there though. We're going to turn this thing over and push that water out. At least that's the plan. All right, we're moving. All right, well, let's take a look at those bores. Well, there's quite a bit of wear halfway down. That side looks good. Orange Frappuccino. But you can see that vertical wear a lot. It's pretty much removed all of the cross hatching. And there's even some on that side of the bore. And when you're looking at the cylinder head, all the seats are there. Obviously water set in that center cylinder. But I don't really see any damage. And if you take a look at the combustion chamber, this is the other cylinder head, the one that blew up. I think that's why we didn't see any damage to the spark plug when we first pulled the plugs, because it would take just the right angle of piston chunks, piston nuggets to make contact with the end of the spark plug. Not saying it can't happen, because I'm sure it does. Now I'm going to rotate this over just a little, because I don't really want to flip it all the way over and have to dig parts of engine out of the engine. That doesn't make any sense. I'm going to just kind of do it just like so. Pull the pan at the angle of a dingle. So as you can see, there's only a couple bolts holding this oil pan on. That's how it was when I got it. Let's see what kind of party basket we're left with. What's in here? Oh, there's some stuff in here. Oh. Okay. So, it's much worse on this side. Let me pour some engine juice out of here. We got a whole slew of things to pull out of this pan.
Little chunks.
And big chunks.
All right, what do we got here? Well, that is the small end of a rod. And there is a wrist pin ready to reinstall, most likely. That looks like the bushing that goes between the wrist pin and the end of the rod. That's part of the rod. Rod. Ooh. A ring. A circlip. Rod. Oh, there's some piston nuggets in here. This isn't messy at all. And yeah, I don't really enjoy sticking my hand in this stuff. There, I got most of the chunky stuff out. I essentially depulped the soup. Let's clean this up a little bit. Wow. And rotate. You know, I thought this was going to look better after I cleaned it up, but it's actually worse. So we're going to start out with the connecting rod that I found. These are all chunks of connecting rod and connecting rod paraphernalia. There's rod bearing and small end bushing. This is all rod. There's a bolt there. There's a head of another bolt. I mean, the size of the chunks, and some of this could be block, I suppose, because this is an iron block. And then I've separated, this is all of the aluminum. So this is likely piston. There's not a ring. That's not a ring. This is actually from the land of the rings. We got one compression ring, a couple sections of other compression ring, and here is the craziest thing of them all, the wrist pin. Now normally these are invincible, but in this case, it's got damage. There's the big dent. They're vincible. It's always a Chrysler. I think maybe one other engine has damaged the wrist pin, but the Chrysler stuff, look, it even destroyed the circlip. It left nothing. Nothing. It's incredible. And like the rod this is like the craziest. It almost broke the lower section off, the upper lower section. And then you could see like every impact mark. I'm sure it was silent. And it didn't really seem like there was a complete piston's worth of piston nuggets. And that's probably because we may find some more of it in here. The windage tray has turned into a blowage tray. We're going to rotate this over just a little bit so that we can remove. That's just dirt, it's not liquid. So we've got our pickup tube, which is annihilated, and the windage tray, which is dropping components that we need to retrieve. So I think this stuff was loosened up just to get the engine to turn over. Looks like I need a 13 millimeter socket to get that pickup tube off the oil pump.
Wow.
The pickup tube has damage here, and it has been forced off the block. There's the screen. We'll look at that in a second. The other crazy thing is the bolts for the main cap. This one's bent. I guess that's a thing that can happen. And it looks like the trigger wheel's bent. Although I don't see any chunks of pistons in here. I bet some of them came out when he was trying to get this thing to turn over. Let's rotate this thing all the way over. Oh, there's some fluid. It's like, wow, that was amazing. So there's the pickup tube. It's damaged. There's some junk on the screen, but it's not completely clogged. This is just wild. Now the good news is this is a one-time use thing. Anytime you put a gasket on an oil pan gasket on it, you replace the windage tray. But in this case, I don't think this engine's getting a new oil pan gasket. That's almost cut in half. Now let's take a look at the bottom end. Look at the pretty colors on that crankshaft. Got some blues and purples and yellows, some orange. Takes a lot of heat to discolor the crankshaft steel there. And normally I'd point to a journal and you'd be like, oh, well that one's really dark because it got really hot, like your cast iron skillets. But in this case, the overall poor condition of this engine doesn't allow you to tell the difference between a journal or a rod that has gotten hot or hotter than normal. So yeah, it's just all bad. And the next thing we're going to do is try to pull the rods and pistons out. Actually, I'm missing a step. We need to get that oil pump off and get that apart. Nope, impact. Spray it down a little bit. Well, there's definitely some wear on the outsides of this. You can see it's got 3 little oiling dimples. And there's definitely some marks on the edge. There's definitely been some debris run through here. You can see the housing definitely has some marks. It's not terrible. That outer housing actually looks like it's in pretty good shape. And then the big gear, definitely not good. I mean, it's not going to not make oil pressure. It certainly wasn't the culprit here. Now we're going to turn this thing over so we can start pulling the rods and pistons out. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Just like so. Now for the next next one. And the final two. Well, that sounded different. The next thing we're going to do is remove all the bolts that hold the bed plate to the block. We're going to start with the perimeter bolts. This one's going to be violent. All right, now we just got to find the right place to pry. Get the bed plate loose. Did they leave a spot? I did miss a bolt. There's a 10 millimeter over here. Oh, yeah. Now we can remove what's left of the crankshaft. Let's get that rear main seal out of the way. The first thing I'm going to do is remove the balance shaft, or try to. Oh yeah, she'll come out. Let's start with the rod bearings. That's not good. These are the worst. In fact, I think the bearings are actually here. And that one looks, I can't tell. Those are bad. But its neighbor, I mean, they're not good, but they're not terrible. That one doesn't look so bad. And those are starting to come apart. The main bearings, they're all a little dry looking. Not super torn up. On to the rods and pistons. These are gigantic rods. Look at the amount of skirt wear on that piston. It's not good. Lack of lubrication, poor maintenance. And then as you get close to the explosion, there's lots of damage to the bottom of these pistons. Aside from the wear's not too bad on this side. You got to remember it's a V6, so it's alternating which bank we're on. Of course, this one, it's the exploded view. Poor wrist pin. It stood a chance. It just lost. And then the other neighbor, just as bad. Lots of marks on the rod. I'm surprised this stayed together. That rod could be bent. Lots of chunks missing out of the bottom of the piston. The rings all look okay. And that's the same bank as the one that blew up. That bank definitely had more damage. And that's the one that let go ultimately. Last piston. I don't think very many of these are, none of these are good. I wouldn't use any of this, but hey, they would make good desk ornaments if you guys want any. And onto the crankshaft. The crank is good until it's bad, and then it's really bad. Well, there's some aluminum transfer from bearings. There's the one. Let's get a light on that. Check that out. That one's really bad. That is not a bearing on there. I kind of chiseled at that a little bit. That's just gouged from slamming into chunks of connecting rod. And then, of course, the damage to the trigger wheel, outstanding. Now, I think this is an earlier one because there's two different styles of Powertech engines. I think it's 16 versus 32 tooth. And the early ones, I think, are 16, and they have a 3-plug engine control module. The later ones are 32, and it could be backwards here, but those have a 4-plug. I know that much. And even the bed plate has some damage. The wrist pin probably did that one. Didn't really confine it that well. Is that an oil drain right there? Yeah, it sure is. Now, why did I touch that? Why do I keep touching? It's like metally oil slag. Even our balance shaft took a few hits. Quite a few hits. You get a better idea of the flailing debris when you look at the bottom of the block. I'm really surprised that most of the damage stayed in the bottom end. And it didn't migrate up. It didn't really do a ton of damage to the cylinder heads. And the bores, this is the side that did not let go. There's some rust stains, and then there's some vertical wear. It's not terrible. This side though, this is the side that let go, and you can see lots of dings and damage down there, bottom of the bores. Again, the top of the bores, it all looks pretty decent. And of course, we've got our knock sensors. These guys need a round of applause. They put in some work. 3.7 liters are not fantastic engines by any measure. None. And all of them have the ability to totally break, go from perfectly running to absolutely annihilated in a moment's notice. It can drop a seat, break a piston. Tons of things happen to these engines. But that's not what happened here. This engine didn't break because it was a 3.7. It didn't break because it was a Dodge engine like everybody likes to say. This engine broke because no one changed the oil. Or if they did, they put used oil back in it. Maybe they just drained it over a coffee filter and then poured it back in. So much sludge and nastiness, no wonder. And the biggest problem is if you buy a vehicle that the engine looks like this and you try to clean it out, if you dislodge it and you don't get it cleaned out and it ends up in the pickup, bad stuff happens. We've definitely seen that in the past, in the recent past. And this engine, I don't really know the history with it. I don't know if the guy bought the truck as is, if he owned it for a long time, if he's to blame. He didn't even leave me his name. So to you, Dodge Ram engine dropper offer guy, leave a comment in this video. I will pin it. Please leave your name so at least I know who I'm talking to. I really appreciate you dropping this off at my buddy Pete's place. We got a teardown out of it. Not all engines end up as a teardown, and this was one I haven't done before, and it was really broken. In fact, he told me in the email it started to make a little bit of noise, so he put his foot to the floor, and then it got really quiet. I think it's because it shut off. And I'm not advocating that you do that before you bring me an engine, because sometimes that's more work than you really need to go through trying to get it unstuck, get all the torque converter bolts out. Regardless, this was a lot of fun. This one was really blown up. Not a lot of good parts from this thing, but if you'd like to buy anything from this engine or anything else I've torn down, or if you need parts off of this 97 Collector's Edition Land Cruiser or off of that 97 Collector's Edition, things come in pairs sometime. I've got plenty of parts from 80 series and all kinds of other vehicles. I've been adding our parts to our website, our parts cars as well. You can go to Importapart.com and check out the recent arrivals. If you don't see what you're looking for, you can fill out our part request form, which sends us an email of exactly what it is that you're looking for. If you find something on our website that you can add to your cart, you can use the code IDOCARS to save 10% off of anything that you can add to your cart. I really hope you enjoyed this teardown as always. I love all the comments, all the feedback, and even the criticism. I love it all, and I'll catch you on the next one.